I'm sure you didn't really see much of the Commanders-Jets controlled scrimmage or whatever the hell they call it. The
Mud Bowl?
Yeah, they only showed a few minutes of it. The reports were kind of mediocre. I guess I'm trying not to get too crazy about it. Everyone is raving about Jayden, though. I mean, my God, and I'm so excited. I agree with everything coming out. I mean, it's getting to the point where even though it's so positive, you're starting to think, well, it must be true. I mean, this kid, I think we finally got somebody, Joe.
I agree. I've had a chance to be around him. I've watched him practice. He checks every box that you want for a young man to play that position. I mean, first, I talked about this the other day to somebody. It was the absolute must choice for the Commanders to get him with that pick. Nothing else would have satisfied the fans. Absolutely nothing else would have satisfied the fans. Totally understand that. And then you watch his work ethic, and then you talk to the coaches, and you see how he applies himself. And just his demeanor is very, very even keeled. I mean, all the things that you're looking for is, I think, special in that regard. And that's why he was drafted where he was. That's why he was a Heisman Trophy winner. And I like the fact that he was at Arizona State, then transferred to LSU. Now, it's two different kinds of offenses. Now he comes into the pros. It's another offense, but yet he's already gone through offensive changes. So he's a little bit ahead of the curve instead of somebody that might have been someplace for a number of years.
What about his arm talent do you like? Because we know he's an exceptional athlete. We're hearing that he's great at processing. He's big into studying. He's into virtual reality. He gets up at 5:30 in the morning, whatever. He's had a quarterback coach since he was 10, 11 years old. What jumps out at you when you see him throwing the football?
I always look at how smooth the delivery is. Is it labored? Is there a herky-jerky movement to it? He's got a great smooth release. And to me, that means that you're processing what you see. Obviously, when the games start, and we'll get a better idea tomorrow night, with the limited amount I'm sure he's going to play, but at least he'll get under center and communicate to the huddle exactly what needs to be done. Those are the little things that have to get, the boxes have to get checked. It'll be a little bit like a regular season game just because somebody else is on the other side in live action. But he gets the ball out of his hands and he processes very well. And he's smart. To me, I got my fingers crossed that we've got another C.J. Stroud. A young man that has athleticism but doesn't place that above his ability to throw the football. Throwing the football is number one. Making plays with your legs is number two. Now, how do you find a balance? Because I was that runaround kind of quarterback. So where do you find the balance to be able to stay disciplined enough in a pocket to do what you need to do, or when things flash, you take off? Now, in college, let's face it, in college, when he lined up and played anybody, he was probably, the first or second best athlete on the field. Well, at LSU was a little bit different because he had some really good receivers too. But, you're in that group that really are better athletes. That's not the case at this level. This level, you have to play with your head. You have to be smart. You have to protect yourself. Somebody asked me the other day, what are you expecting to see from Jayden? I want to see him play 17 football games and hopefully more. But I want to see him line up every week so that he can practice and play and get better, because that's the only way you get better. You can't go out like Anthony Richardson, for example. Basically, this is his rookie season again. He foundationally is starting over. He doesn't have any film of himself to sit and study and say, okay, I need to do this better. I shouldn't have put the ball there. I think studying what you're doing is important because you know what you're thinking when you're studying the film. There's a difference between looking at film and studying film, too.
Joe, how much further along is Jayden as a passer than RG3 was as a rookie at this same spot?
I think he's a little bit further ahead. RG is a great athlete, and I think it was something that they were going to work on a little bit. His delivery was a little bit different, and you can have different deliveries. And RG got the ball out of his hand very well. But I think Jayden is, I think he's a little bit ahead of where RG was as far as throwing the football goes.
Let me ask you a question. This is maybe weird, but I was just thinking of it as you were talking. And, whenever we have Joe T on, it's always such a thrill because that's really the heyday of my fandom. And for many of us, right, the 80s and 82, 83 team. We all know the 83 team better than the 82 team. I don't know if Joe admitted, but, I mean, come on. That 83 team was ridiculous. Could you, Joe, if you were in your peak of your powers right now, you're 25 years old, could Joe T win with the talent that we have on offense?
I think so.
If you were the guy.
I think our wide receiving core matches up well around the league. I think our running backs match well up around the league. The one thing that I had going for me was the fact that I had a tremendous offensive line.
Right.
And I think the whole game starts on offense with those five guys up front. Now, are our guys going to be able to mesh? I mean, I just went through the roster last night again, just out of curiosity, because I knew I'd be talking to you guys. But, you know, as I look at the roster on both sides of the ball, offense and defense, we potentially could start 11 different players than started last year in the opener. So there is that growing period where you get to know one another. You know, Terry and that group, the wide receivers and the running backs, they're there. They understand that. They pick it up quick. But the offensive line is where there's tremendous amount of communication people don't really understand. And I always look at this, guys. At the end of the year, you look at the five guys that have been together the most up front, and they're probably going to be competing in a championship game or even a Super Bowl. You know, Kansas City was that way. Philadelphia was that way. In the years that New England was doing what they were doing, they were that way. If we can keep everybody healthy up front and they grow together, we'll be in good shape.
Are you alarmed by some of the reports that, like, Forbes is still struggling and that sort of thing, like secondary issues? Seems like the pass rush is going to be there defensively. What are sort of your thoughts on our defense?
Again, you've got different positions. I mean, you look, Bobby Wagner's going to be there. Luvu's there. Dante Fowler Jr. I mean, you look at it. They're your linebackers. They weren't there last year. So I mean, you've got coordination to be able to put together and make sure that everybody is properly communicating. You know, Forrest put on what, 17 pounds? I think I read he put some weight on. That's a big change. I mean, I know you put on 10 or 15 pounds, you're a different person. Your speed is different. Your quickness is different. So I think he's adjusting to what he really is going to be as a player goes. And they made some moves in the secondary, and they'll find the right combination they want. He'll get a chance. And now the question is, are you up to the challenge to be able to do the job that they're asking you to do?
Joe, the Olympics are going on right now, and I think I remembered. Were you in Superstars back in the day?
Yeah, I competed. I competed in the Superstars.
So Superstars, for those that don't know, it was a competition where they would take athletes from different sports. Right. And what I remember was the obstacle course at the end.
So great.
And you would maybe pick 6 or 7 events. Can you remember your experience there? Because I was just thinking, like, you were a great athlete. Don't know if you would have been able to compete in any Olympic sports, but what about the Superstars? What did you compete in? Did you do bowling?
I can answer that question for you. No, I would not have been able to compete at an Olympic level. But there was you had the quarter-mile run, you had 100-yard dash, there was rowing, there was bowling, there was the obstacle course. I mean, I trained. Once I got finished with football and I knew I was going to be a part of the competition, I would start training. I would start running. I would start riding. You had biking. We had 6 or 7 different things. They didn't have golf at that time. Probably wouldn't have won that anyway. But they had different events that really challenged you. The obstacle course was the toughest. I think I'm trying to remember who it was. One of the guys built an obstacle course in his backyard. Because you got to remember, the dollars today are so different than the dollars were 30, 40 years ago. So if you could make $25,000 in this competition, that's a lot of money.
Right.
And relatively speaking, that's a lot of money today. But I mean, compared to where we are, so yeah, guys would train. I mean, guys and gals would train. I mean, it was a real, it was something that was fun. It kept you in shape. I'll guarantee you that.
Right. What was your best event?
I think the quarter mile. I probably finished pretty well running. I could always run. I ran for my life for so many years, but I could always run, and that was the one that I felt like I tried to out endure people.
Right.
Endurance was something. Just like I used to compete and play racquetball.
Right.
I might lose the first game, but you're going to be darn tired by the time we get to the third.
Right.
Looks like you lost to Charles White in the end.
Yeah, well,
a former USC running back.
Yeah, if I lost to Charles White back in the end, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I punched something up. For some reason, I remembered you doing Superstars, and it says, something came up, 1980 men's final. Looks like Joe Theismann won $8,400.
Nice.
Ooh, nice.
Nice
Yeah.
score.
You finished behind Charles White, Russ Francis,
Oh, he was great.
Phil Garner, the baseball player, and then Joe T.
Right. Yeah. It was. You know, it's like the American Century Golf Tournament. You get to meet so many people that you watched on television, and you really didn't know. And then in that competition, you really got to know them as individuals and appreciated all of them.
Do they ever have any? Do women participate in the golf thing there in Tahoe? Are there,
Yes. Yeah.
Are they celebrities or are they
Dylan,
like athletes?
Dylan Dreyer. Dylan was there. Catherine Tappan. Annika finished, I think, second or third this year. Sorenstam.
Oh, that's right.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
She's. I always, when Annika's on the range, I show up for breakfast. I have breakfast early, and I look for where Annika's standing, and then I go try and stand right next to her and try and watch the way she hits a golf ball, the
Her
precision
tempo.
that she has, her
Yeah.
study habits. I mean, she's incredible. She absolutely is incredible. And a fantastic person too.
Right. All right, Joe. Well, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. We'll get
Always
you on
great
during
catching
the
up with you
season.
guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, pal.
Thank you, Joe.
And should EB
Hey,
get the
guys.
lab putter?
I'm getting the lab
What's
putter.
the verdict?
Go get it, EB. Go get it.
What do
man.
you? What do
Life
you?
is short.
I
EB.
bet you.
know
Are you a
this.
Scotty Cameron guy, Joe?
Actually, I'm a mallet guy. I'm a tailor-made mallet guy.
Tailor-made.
Oh, mallet.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Nice. You haven't been intrigued by the lab putter?
I have been intrigued by it. Yes, I have.
See?
Not to the
haven't
point
really-
of buying it.
No,
I have about 35 in my garage,
Oh.
and I haven't added that one yet to the repertoire.
it is a big expense.
the
sure.
face,
But
the
I'm
face
sure-
doesn't rotate, Joe.
Yeah,
No, that's what they say.
until I get it in my hands. All right, thank you, Joe.
Thanks, guys.